Welcome. This is the last of 3 sessions examining a spiritual journey, one approach to spiritual growth, based on an eminent classic of the spiritual life from the 13th century, The Soul's Journey into God. This series of sessions is taking us journeying through the visible world and our bodily being, then the mental world and our moral being, and above and beyond these, probing being itself and goodness itself. In this, our last session, we will first review not only the previous session, but also the context of our series. Then we will attempt a journey above and beyond our ordinary consciousness into the mystery of being, and then into the mystery of the good. Bonaventure ends the soul's journey at rest. We'll see about that. And then we'll reflect very briefly on our journey as a whole. So now, the context of our series. We're attempting to follow a spiritual journey mapped out by Bonaventure, a 13th century European Franciscan, a follower of Francis of Assisi, a theologian, and one who is called a saint. Bonaventure's famous writing, The Soul's Journey into God, is one of the classics of Christian spirituality, of Western spirituality, indeed, of world spirituality. But even in translation, it is challenging and dense. In 1993, I published an interpretation of the soul's journey, revised in 2014, attempting to make the soul's journey more accessible to contemporary people. That interpretation is still within an explicitly Christian framework. In this series, I'm attempting something further, and I'm grateful to you for accompanying me in this venture, and that is a distillation of the soul's journey. This step is inspired by one clause in the Covenant of Good Relations, which is a mutual pledge shared by members of UUSD, my church. That clause is, I will speak from my own experience. It is a delicious challenge for a theologian to attempt to speak from my own experience of God and such, without relying on received doctrines, but simply by describing experiences that should be accessible to anyone. But that's what we are attempting in this series. Something of an adventure, isn't it? In our second session, we journeyed through our mental world, finding a pattern at work in our consciousness, emerging from memory, coming to focus in knowledge, bearing fruit in affirmation and accomplishment. And we journeyed through our moral being, facing inadequacies, letting go of self-sufficiency, becoming aware that we are embraced by unconditional acceptance, by grace. And so we concluded the third and fourth steps of Bonaventure's journey, the path through the world within us. So, shall we attempt the first step into the realm beyond, into being itself? Please ensure that you're sitting comfortably, but up straight so that you can breathe freely, feet flat on the floor, hands at ease. Please close your eyes, or, if you prefer, merely lower your gaze, enough so you may imagine yourself deep into darkness. Breathe deeply and steadily. Gather the wandering thoughts of your mind to focus on your breathing. Feel the air passing through your nostrils. In, out. In, out. Sense the steady rhythm of your heart, and let the small sounds around you blend together like a gently flowing stream passing by, flowing gently, steadily. Be at peace here in this holy place. You have already passed through the outer courtyard of the sensible world and your activity within it, seeing by the light of common day. You have already entered the sanctuary of your mind-heart, stepping deeper, seeing in gentle light like that through stained glass windows. As you moved even deeper, the light dimmed, the sanctuary darkened a little. Now you are invited to pass through the veil, deeper still, into the innermost sanctuary, the most holy place in the depth of your mind-heart. You find it completely dark. Yes, at this depth, you are in complete darkness. But do not be afraid. Rather, feel free to explore this darkness. Just think, what would it be like were you to see pure light? Were you to gaze directly into the light source, you would be blinded. But otherwise, unless the light were to reflect from some object, even from motes of dust in the air, were you to gaze upon pure light, it would be as if you saw nothing, nothing at all. So it is here, at this depth, in this darkness of the innermost sanctuary of your mind-heart. Bonaventure says, "This very darkness is the supreme light of the mind's illumination." Let us sink then into this luminous darkness, this darkness which may be pure light, sink, and yet be borne up by this cloud of unknowing within which we know all that we know. This darkness is the ground, the background of whatever we see or imagine. If we sense a blurring edge or limit to that background, our mind is ready to reach beyond that limit, beyond any limit, even to the edge of the universe, ready to look beyond the farthest frontier of imaginable realities, ready to look beyond into no thing, into the infinite luminous ground of all things, which is no thing, beyond any limit. For were your mind-heart to come to a limit, once again, it would simply look beyond. that limitless ground is not a being. It is being itself, beyond imagination, beyond limit, beyond anything conceivable. Yet for everything that we perceive or know, that boundless ground is there, the background against which we know it, the light by which we know it. Further, we ourselves live and work and have our being within this same boundless ground, this dark but luminous deep cloud of unknowing in which we float, by which we are buoyed up, embraced. We live in it, we are supported by it, we are embraced by it. Here, in the depth and darkness of your mind's innermost sanctuary, know that pure light, which, were we to look upon it, we would seem to see nothing at all. The luminous darkness, the cloud of unknowing. Bonaventure says, know that this very darkness is the supreme illumination of your mind. Please take a deep breath. Slowly open your eyes, raise your gaze, and return to the light of common day. Pause to rest a few moments. You may want to pause the program. Well, shall we attempt one further step to probe goodness itself? Perhaps to prepare us for this step, we can take some hints from some quirks of language. And here's another image from the sensible world that we explored in step 1. We speak of sense data. Data is from the Latin and it means given. What a provocative metaphor that is. Even more provocative if we say there is, as in there is a daffodil, but just for fun say it in German. Es gibt ein Narzissen. The German es gibt translates literally, it gives. Given. It gives. Taking a cue from that quirk of language, let's venture forward into this last step of our spiritual journey. So again, please sit comfortably but up straight so you can breathe freely, feet flat on the floor, hands at ease. Please close your eyes or lower your gaze. Breathe deeply and steadily. Let the wandering thoughts of your mind focus on your breathing. Feel the air passing through your nostrils. Be at peace here as you descend into the innermost sanctuary of your mind, comfortable in the luminous darkness of this holy place. Let the small sounds around you blend together like a gently flowing stream. We float in that gently flowing stream. In the depth of our being, We are borne up by it, supported, even embraced by it. Your very being is given, arising in the flowing stream of time. At its depth, your very being is borne up by the current of time, as if you ride atop a steadily flowing fountain, the flow constantly rising to support you, constantly returning into its mysterious depths. The flow of time is the life of being itself, and you are held by, embraced within, the dynamic life of being itself. All things issue from it. All things return to it. Everything that we meet or that we know arises in this flow of time. It becomes present, presents itself to us. It is given. Everything that we meet or that we know approaches, emerges in time to greet us, and then passes on, withdraws. Every present balances between approach and withdrawal. From where to where? From darkness into darkness. Yes, that darkness. The luminous darkness that is the supreme illumination of our mind. Know now that this darkness is alive, vibrant, even radiant. It is that which gives. It is goodness, which bursts beyond itself, radiates, overflows like a fountain of fullness. The darkness gives, embraces, beckons. In the depth of our being, we too are embraced by, embraced within this darkness. Yet unlike such things as daffodils, we can be aware of the darkness that gives, of the darkness that beckons. We can be a still point in the flow of time, turning to be conscious of the flow, conscious of the dynamic, radiant balance of all that is given, of the boundless, vibrant unity of the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part, all balanced in the flow of time, all given, present as a gift, emerging from beyond, reaching back into beyond. We cannot focus on the darkness itself, it withdraws. We can only point into the withdrawing darkness, pointing, reaching. From where comes the approaching darkness? To where does it withdraw? Beyond, deep, deep beyond. Our effort to point into the darkness comes out in words. Words trying to capture the ineffable. Words like being. Words like goodness. In our very depth, we are in being. We are in goodness. And yet being and goodness emerge from beyond, withdraw into beyond. how point into the whole of this dynamism, the totality of this dynamism? Perhaps we reach for words like love. But really, we are left speechless. Or we utter symbolic formulae like, I believe in one God. Or, wow, just wow. And for the gift, thanks. Please take a deep breath now. Open your eyes, raise your eyes. Just to pause a few moments to rest. Rest. Bonaventure ends the soul's journey with a chapter on rest. You see, at the end of chapter 6, we're still thinking. The call is to pass over into wordless contemplation. Actually, we haven't really gone anywhere on this journey, have we? We haven't attained or achieved some new reality. Rather, all this has always been happening. We've always been caught up in it. Only now maybe we're aware, a keen perception of the obvious. Now perhaps shed the baggage of words and thinking, free yourself for the gift and the surprise, and maybe laughter. And where are we? Where have we ended up? Same place we were when we started. We have arrived at the beginning. Oh, by the way, I added a step, return. Bonaventure's unwritten 8th chapter. You see, Bonaventure did not stay on the mountaintop. Neither can we. After the mountaintop comes the letdown and the work. The reminder of return also helps avoid a trap. You see, seeking the height of spirituality as an end in itself can be a delusion. The ego can revive, a devouring monster of pride. Well then, what's the point of the spiritual quest? No one stays on the mountaintop. All descend with a mission. So, we're back in our ordinary lives. Yet things are not quite the same, are they? We arrive at the beginning, not a destination, but a destiny. So, where has this journey brought us? Well, there are no spiritual practices advised in the soul's journey, just an invitation to be mindful, deeply aware of all the dimensions of our ordinary life, life's outer dimensions, our inner dimension, and our being constantly embraced and buoyed up within the dynamic, transcendent mystery of being and goodness. After all, we haven't actually traveled anywhere on this spiritual journey, have we? No dramatic new landscapes to explore, no flashy souvenirs to show off to our neighbors. We arrive where we began. with an invitation to continue or repeat the journey, to travel through our everyday, ordinary lives with ever deepening awareness, ever brightening illumination, ever widening appreciation. Everything opens upward and outward. Thank you.